Today, I want to share with you something I came up with that kind of explains why your mindset and your self concept and what you think of yourself matters. Because if you don't have that in place and you kind of leave it up to however you do in auditions or competitions or things like that as a musician, we can really get into a lot of trouble. In this video, I'm going to tell you how to change that if you're not happy with where you are. Now, the first part of this is your self-concept. So your self-concept is what you think about yourself, what you think is possible for yourself. It's your relationship to yourself. It's the opinion you hold of yourself. It's your self-esteem. It's like all of these beliefs about yourself. It's everything wrapped up into this one concept. It's what you think and believe about yourself. The way you think and feel about yourself can make the biggest difference in whether you have a successful career. And it's not just your habits, it's not just your actions or how much you practice or whatever that's going to get you to where you want to go. It's this. This is the root of it all. I might not think it's possible for myself to win an audition. And if I don't think that's possible for me, then it's going to be very, very hard to really convince myself on a deep level that it's worth practicing for, that it's worth following through on. Right? So if you have really long-term goals, maybe it's a graduate school audition, something like that, undergrad school audition, and you don't actually think you can get into these schools, I really want you to rethink that process because it will make all the difference in terms of how you show up for yourself in your practice room, in your performances, in your habits, and all of that stuff. So really take a look at how you view yourself now and what your self-concept is, and whether you believe that it's possible for you to reach your goals. Picture yourself in the situation where you got the thing that you're auditioning for example, or that place that you want to be in your career. When you're there, do you believe it's possible? Do you feel like you're well equipped to do it? Do you feel like you are the kind of person that would be chosen for that thing? If not, then there's some reworking to do in your self-concept. The way that your self-concept actually impacts your practice habits is so crucial. If you don't think that you're very good at what you do, then you're probably using negative motivation in order to motivate yourself. So what that does is when you put yourself down, say, I'm not good enough, for example, to motivate yourself to get better, you're saying, I'm not good enough, I need to practice. When you do that, you are practicing the thought that you're not good enough. Practice makes you really wire in that belief. So while you might be getting better at your instrument, your confidence is likely going down because you're practicing that belief that you're not good enough. So it shows up in the motivation you have of what you're doing. That's why practice time doesn't matter as much as quality of practice. And what I mean by that is how we fuel our practice with emotions. So if we are feeling really negative about ourselves and then we practice, that's going to be really different over 4 hours a day for the next 6 months than if we say, I'm not good enough for 4 hours a day over the next 6 months. You're going to create a different result for yourself. If you're using this negative motivation, you're likely not going to be practicing at the most optimum level, which I think is curiosity. When you are curious in your practice room, all bets are off. You are getting to the bottom of things, you are doing deep work, you are able to really hear things and say, oh, I like that, I didn't like that, I wonder why. Why do I like this recording so much? Let me listen to it again, let me record myself, let me see what I could do differently. That's exciting. But when you're thinking, oh, that was bad, then all of a sudden you get a wave of shame because you've sort of just proven yourself right that you're not good enough, right? If you judge yourself in the practice room. So your practice habits and how you talk to yourself is a habit, and all of that comes from what you believe about yourself, what you believe is possible for yourself, and how you are relating to yourself and to your instrument. Now, why does your self-concept matter to your performances? Well, if you think that it's not possible for you to win an audition, for example, you're going into the audition, you don't think that you can win it, but you think that maybe someone else could think you could win it, right? So we're sort of seeing what happens and we're trying to see, like, oh, maybe I am good enough and I haven't thought it yet. Right. And so we play the audition, and if they don't choose us, then we're proven right. And then it hurts kind of twice as much because we're like, oh, I told you so. I wasn't good enough. Right. And that hurts really, really bad. So, whenever you're able to kind of see your mind doing that and see, like, okay, do I actually think I can win this? If the answer is no, why are you doing it? And I'm not saying that because, like, I think you're not good enough. I don't know you, right? I really am genuinely curious, like, why are you putting yourself through that? Is it in the hopes that someone else will think you're good enough and prove you wrong? Because if that's the case, I know that that was the case for me. I know that so many musicians do this. I know that I wanted to be proven wrong. I wanted other people to think I was good enough without having to believe it myself. And I have to say, it's just not the way to go. Because even if someone does choose you, then you actually have to do that job. You have to do that job while thinking, oh, I'm not good enough for this. And that's when you develop imposter syndrome, right? So I think that it's really crucial ahead of time to think in your self concept, I can do this. I would do an amazing job at this job if I were to win this audition. And I think I can win this audition. And if they don't choose me, then it doesn't mean I wasn't good enough. It just means they didn't choose me. So, your self concept going into auditions and performances are really going to clarify a lot of the stakes, right? Because the stakes are really, really high if you think I'm only good enough if they choose me, right? And if they don't choose me, then I'm not good enough and it was all for nothing and it wasn't worth taking the audition and all of that stuff. So, really be onto your mind about this, because how you deal with rejection from an audition or a competition, whatever it is, or maybe even a performance you didn't think went well, how you deal with that is directly going to determine how you show up for the next one, right? So, if you're scared to put your full self out there next time, you're going to keep going in this cycle of having a poor self concept. You're going to try to practice your way out of that poor self concept. You're going to then make the stakes really high for this performance that you have. And then if it doesn't go well, oh my gosh, then I didn't get the thing that I want. And now that's evidence for my poor self concept. And it goes in a cycle. If your self concept is baseline, I know I'm good enough, like I'm good with me, then your entire cycle changes, right? So if you think I'm good with me, I've got my back no matter what, I really like how I play, then what you're going to do in your practice room is you're going to be so much more curious. You're going to wonder about things. You're going to explore new sounds. You're going to explore new phrasing and different options. And you're going to be able to do that without severely judging yourself. And since you've explored all those options so deeply and you've done a lot of deep practice and not just surface level run throughs and stuff like that, you're going to be able to perform from a place that you know you love what you've created. It's no longer a measure of whether you're good enough because you already have that self-concept and it's solid. You know you're good enough. You know you like and love the thing that you've cultivated in the practice room. Then you're going to share it with people, and that feels really different. Those stakes feel really different. Same thing in an audition. If you're good with you, other people cannot be good with you or just not pick you, and it's okay because you've picked yourself already. Then how that translates is even if you don't do very well, you know probably exactly what went wrong. You're more invested in the actual thing of what you're doing rather than what you're making that mean about you. Meaning, if you made a mistake, you're like, I wonder what I was thinking during that part, or how could I set this up better for next time? You tend to get curious because you're not judging yourself. When you have a low self-concept, you tend to make these results, these outcomes of auditions and different things, performances, whatever, mean so much about you because you're just desperate to get into a better self-concept, which ironically only you can do. No one else can do that for you. So once you say like, oh yeah, I'm good with me, they didn't like it, I wonder what they were hearing, right? That way, really asking for feedback and also then telling other people like, hey, I didn't advance in an audition doesn't actually hurt as bad because you're good with you and you say, oh, this is where I am. I'm good with where I am. Maybe I'm not at this level yet, or maybe I'm not here yet, but I'm okay with where I am on my journey. I know I'm going to get there, right? I'm just not there yet. Once you have that dialed in, that self concept, your practicing improves, your performing improves, you're probably less anxious. And then for the result of that, you know you're giving your all to everything that you're doing and you're not scrambling and trying to overdo stuff just so you can have proof that you're good enough, which I used to do a lot. Then you can finally move to the outcomes, right? So maybe the outcome still isn't what you desired it to be, but the outcome actually is that you learn more when you have a higher self concept. So if your opinion of yourself is higher and you feel good enough and you feel like a worthy human already, then your practicing changes, your performances are elevated because of your practice, and it compounds, it snowballs, right? And so even if you are rejected, you're more curious about the process because you know that it doesn't mean anything about you that they didn't choose you. Is it disappointing? Of course. It does feel bad when you don't advance in a competition or an audition, but it's not the end of the world kind of feeling, right? So you don't put all of your eggs in one basket. So what you're doing is really then reinforcing that, oh, I can get through these rejections and failures, and it's not going to change my opinion of myself. And so that really feeds back into your self concept. Now you have a self concept of, I'm the kind of person who's resilient. I'm the kind of person who knows how to handle rejection. I'm the kind of person who can process disappointment and still keep moving forward and be my own number one fan and really believe in myself. So I think that all of these things are so important because you have your self concept, and that is the root of it all. And you have control over it. You don't need someone to tell you you're good enough in order to feel it. Because if you just try to grasp on for other people's validation and confidence, like that's their confidence in you. That's their feeling, not yours. You need to develop your own confidence and self concept in yourself. I'll be talking about how to do that in another video, but if you enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe. If you have a friend that you're like, oh, they need to see this, I think that this is so crucial, this might be the missing thing, this might be the reason I'm practicing so much and I'm not seeing results on stage, or I'm not seeing the outcomes I want in my career and life, like this is absolutely part of it. So comment down below if you feel like you've been trying really, really hard to be consistent in performance and practice, but you've never really thought about your self-concept before. My name's Chelsea Tanner, and I will see you next time.